The Vietcong and North Vietnamese Army were an incredibly elusive force. They were hidden out of sight. You could go up and fly over my entire district and you'd never see any of them anywhere. So you had to understand them, and I had to come to understand how they operated, when they moved, where they were, how do you track them down, and how could we find them during our last light helicopter missions. So to understand how this guerrilla force operated, I would go out in a single engine plane with one pilot. His name was Captain Zach, and his call sign was Swamp Fox, and it was a 01 U.S. Army single engine aircraft. He'd be in the front, flying, piloting, I'd be in the back, and we would go out and fly all over my district, looking down at the canals and all of these mangrove swamps, all of these tree lines, all of this jungle, trying to figure out what are the telltale signs of where the Vietcong are. And at first, not knowing anything, you'd say, well, there are no signs. But then I learned to look for when they moved about on sampans down the many numerous canals in the district. They would break apart all the vegetation, all the lotus flowers that had grown over the canals. And you could see and you could trace and see when they moved, and depending on how far apart the lotus flowers had been spread, how long ago it was. I came to be able to understand whether it was a day ago or 6 hours ago, where they were. At night, the Vietcong would take their sampans and sink them underwater so they couldn't be seen, so they'd be hidden. I learned how do you look and find where did they sink them? Where are the disruptions in the vegetation? Where are the footpaths then? Where do they go? Where might their bunkers be? And we'd mark all of this on maps that we're carrying. I'd have a Vietnamese officer with me in the helicopter, but here in the plane flying around with Captain Zach, it was just me and him. And slowly we'd be able to see the patterns, and I could discern where they are now, where most likely would they be tonight when we go out in the helicopters looking for them. It had to be like tracking animals in the forest, or tracking enemies in the forests in colonial times in America. How do you read the signs of human activity? How do you read the signs of what people do as they move? How do you pick them up? And by looking at and where civilians did or didn't go in these areas, where farmers might go or not go, we also could discern, well, where is it that the Vietcong have planted landmines? Because they would booby trap the areas around their base area to protect themselves. So if we come walking in, or troops would come walking in, they'd set off booby traps and wound themselves severely. So all of this was painting the picture of knowing where is the enemy located, how do you find the enemy, how do you fix them, and then how do you later bring military power to bear on them to keep them from attacking the airfield and to loosening their grip on this vast area that made up almost all of the district where I was senior advisor.